Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friends in Recovery podcast with Jersey Ed. I'm your host, Jersey Ed, guys. I'm along with my two co-hosts, Buckeye, Bambi, and today it's Busy Beth. I had to put a line before her name because we don't know who the fuck she's going to be every week. So it's Busy Beth today. Hello, ladies. How are you ladies doing today?
Tired. I want a nap.
Tired. Nap. Jesus.
It's early here.
Yeah.
Up even earlier.
I get up at 4 o'clock every morning, so stop the bitching, okay?
Hey, I get up at between 3 and 5 every morning.
I get up whenever I want.
That's right. And who is that, guys?
Chris.
Who is that? That's Chris Cuddihy, guys. He's going to be our guest today. So this week's guest is Chris Cuddihy, a.k.a. Bag O' Nuts. We're going to interview him. It's probably going to be a 5-hour show, so grab your popcorn and a urinal so you can piss in it while you're sitting there because it's going to be a funny show. Anyways, guys, it is Mental Health Month here on Friends in Recovery podcast, and we try to keep the issues and talk to mental health if we could. With Chris, that's going to be virtually impossible. So if we told him don't talk about mental health, he would talk about it. Anyways, Chris, this might be for you. We need an intern. If you're interested, send Bambi an email.
Where are you, Bambi? You're so far away.
We're still looking for an intern, everybody. So stay tuned for some amazing recovery. And you can send emails to help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Or if you want to talk to Chris Cuddihy directly, his number is 718. No, I'm sorry. 555.
1-800. Who gives a shit?
Chris, there's 3 people here. Even if I gave your number out, nobody would fucking even know. So
they wouldn't call.
That's right.
It gives his number out every week. And email out every week, and we never get anyone email us.
Never. If you want to call, if you want to give us a call and talk to Chris, the podcast hotline is 800-989-6504. If you call that right now, we might be able to pick up the phone and talk to you guys on, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know, whatever. So that is all of that. And then our email addresses right there below. Send each one of us an email. Somebody please send an email just so we know it works. And just email us directly on. So
surely Kathy or John will send one.
I don't know. I haven't gotten one from John yet. So the manager should send me an email. Look for us on social media, Friends in Recovery, all of our social media, Friends in Recovery communities. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and give us a 5-star review and push that little dutton over like that. And
notification bell.
There you go. And it dings when it comes up. So usually this show is out Tuesday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern time. It is heart time. I was going to say it's Purple Heart time because
it is Purple Heart time.
Always Purple Heart.
Always time. Purple Heart time. Please, Bambi is Purple Hearts. You can see there. Beth, black hearts, what other color would she have? Basic Beth has black hearts today. Oh no.
Well,
Busy Beth.
Busy Beth. And Jersey Ed, blue hearts, of course. And then Chris, we give him
a
black star. He wants a black star. Give Chris a black star. If there's no black star, then give him a red heart. Red heart, guys. I'd like to thank all of our donors who made this show possible. And don't forget, somebody gives us money once in a while. Don't forget, Friends in Recovery podcast is part of the FIRE network now. For more information on that, go to friendsinrecoverycommunity.org. So here it is, guys. It's time for sober shout outs. I forgot to ask Chris if he had any, so we will let him go last. I'm going to start with Bambi. Any sober shout outs, Bambi?
Yes, I have one. One of our friends in recovery, Beth R. She used to host one of our meetings, and she comes on the nurses meeting a lot, and she has 19 years.
Congratulations, Beth.
And I got to tell a little story about Beth because when I first joined Friends in Recovery, I was a mess. well, I'm still a mess, but I was more of a mess. So I used to come on and bitch over and over about the same thing, you know, doing the same thing and getting myself into trouble because I wouldn't take time to pause and say God's will, not mine, be done, or anything, right? So one day in the mail, I get this pause necklace. And Beth has sent me a pause necklace that has the little pause sign. And she says, I want you to hold that anytime before you open your mouth, text anything or do anything. You hold it and say, you know, what should I do? You know?
I didn't know Beth sent. I know you talk about it all the time, but I didn't know Beth sent it to you.
Beth sent it to me.
Wow.
Super cool.
So she rocks. And since then, I have sent all of my sponsees a pause necklace. Because it helps me. So
19 years, Beth. I remember I've known Beth for probably almost 30 years now. We did a lot of work together in Jersey, helping people get sober. So it's good to hear that she's 19 years sober. Basic Beth. No, I'm sorry.
No, busy Beth.
Busy.
What do you want? Think
of basic Beth? Really?
Basic.
She was basic Beth last week.
She was basic Beth last week, though.
And better Beth, or maybe better Beth.
I want to know when it's going to be bitchy Beth.
Well, she was badass Beth once.
Badass Beth.
And she started as
bitchy,
super Beth.
I can be fucking bitchy.
I got it, guys. Oh my God.
I am from Jersey.
That's right. Wonderful, Beth. Go ahead.
I don't have any shout outs this week. It's been a long work week. I do have a shout out actually to a nameless woman who's been seeking treatment for 2 years and came across my desk, and she's trying to raise money for a bus ticket to North Carolina. But I found her a treatment center that would take her with all of her stuff. So, and she's in the process of raising money to get to treatment. I mean, talk about willing to go to any lengths. So yeah. That's my sober shout out. All right. Congratulations, mystery woman. One day she'll be on the show. So, Chris, do you have any sober shout outs?
No, it is funnily enough, as you know, I'm not a great attender after 38 years of maniacal sobriety, but I am still heavily connected. So, it's all the people that we've worked with, Ed, that I think about, and I think about my own family members and just think about my in-laws and all the people, all the sober people that I surround myself with. And I think that that's really crucial. And so my shout out goes to them for just being there all the time whenever they're needed. And I think that's really important, Absolutely. And a good friend of mine who unfortunately he's unable to get it. And he's visited you a couple of times and struggling, and about to lose absolutely everything. And no matter what you say, it's not going to make any difference. No. And so, we're the minority, guys, that get this. We are. And if you're listening to this and you're sober, get on your knees and thank whatever you thank for what you are, because we are in a small percentage of this right here, staying sober. So, true. Well, absolutely true. And we've had this discussion before, which is what keeps you sober, what makes you sober, what gets. There's the lady in North Carolina, or the lady that wants to go to North Carolina. And she's looking for money for a bus. And that's awesome. That is absolutely amazing. What you do with that bus ticket is entirely up to you. Exactly. Maybe we'll get into that when we get into the topic of the show. No, that's okay. No. Because we do have to do this. So we have to bring him back. For ADHD. Yes, that's it. We have to bring him back. I know how to handle Chris. Just let me handle him. I've been dealing with him for all these years. So, anyways. I do have a sober shout out. Of course, Soberpod is my normal sober shout out. And Carl just wrote that 366 fucking days sober. It's an amazing book. There it is. Bambi's holding it up, and you can get it, I believe, on Amazon, right? And I guess we'll put the link in the notes show. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. So please, guys, support Carl. It's dirt cheap. I mean, I called him up and I said, did you make a mistake pricing this book? And he said, no. And by the way, I had to buy a fucking book. Okay. Just to let you know. I still have to get mine. It's so cheap. I bought one. I'm like, has to be cheap if you bought it.
I'm like, I better, the 3 cents that he's making on this book, I better buy one, because if he gives it to me, it's going to take 400 books for him to make up for my book. I'm just kidding anyways. But guys, please, the price is excellent. Go get it. The content's amazing. I think Bambi's going to read today's day sober reflection.
You want me to do that now?
Yeah, do it now.
All right. Experience, strength, and hope. This is a format we follow when we share with others. This basic format allows us to talk about where we've been and how we got here, the process of working a program or transformation, and finally, the encouragement that the listener can do the same. It's not easy to pour your heart out to strangers, hoping they will someday acquire what you have found. Yet we do this week after week, and some of us get discouraged at the procession of the passing parade of alcoholics and addicts. But after developing compassion and empathy for the addict or alcoholic, the irony is that there is plenty of opportunity to feel compassion and empathy in the rooms of recovery. It can be downright depressing, but on that rare occasion, someone walks in, sits down, opens their ears, closes their mouth, hears the message of experience, strength, and hope, and then stays a while. And they heal, and they do recover. The reflection for today: have you ever thought about your story of experience, strength, and hope? What is it? And the daily challenge? Write it out. Put your story down on paper so you can better communicate it to others.
And I need to add something to that. Buck. Okay.
Yeah, there was no cussing in this one.
There was no cussing.
None.
Zero. What's up with that?
That's pretty lame. Carl didn't write that one, obviously, guys.
AI did it. He had some.
ChatGPT wrote it for
us. That's right. So you can find that book, guys, on the Amazon shelves. Go get it. 366 fucking days sober. Great book, and a great friend of the shows. He wrote it, and please support him. And what else? Don't forget, we have twice daily AA meetings on Zoom. You can find them all on our website, friendsinrecoverycommunity.org. Okay, ladies, you know what it is.
Question of the week.
Question of the week.
All right, guys. Question of the week. Yeah, we will. There's the big explosion, and
you are wearing pants, aren't you?
No, I'm not. Shh. We're gonna get kicked off. We made it so far. The question of the week, guys. We have a little thing every month, every week, usually pertaining to the the topic of the month, which is mental health this month. And I was told this is a lame question, but you try to find a fucking mental health question. This is my 4th time trying to find it, so this is it, guys. I'll have some good ones next month. The question of the week is: when you feel sad or mad, what do you do? How do you let those feelings out? It's pretty simple. Like, just tell us how what you do just to let it out. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, it's a good question. I'll answer it first if you guys don't mind, so I can shut up after this, and then we can go into the interview with Chris.
Really?
Basically, I just take a deep breath, right? And then just think about it. Should I react? Shouldn't I react? And if I want to react, I'll take another deep breath and think about it again. And I swear I do this all the time. And then I'll just either let it go or be nice, do something in a nice way about it when I'm mad. I don't stay being mad. I don't stay being sad. I don't stay in it anymore. I just don't. I can't. I can't afford to be in that crap anymore. Do I get upset sometimes? Yeah, of course. Am I in bad moods? Yeah, but I don't stay there, and I get out of it right away. So that's how I deal with it. Just kind of identify it and move through it. So, Bambi, go ahead. What about you?
Well, I think when I feel sad, if I feel really sad, I let myself cry. I let myself feel that emotion and experience that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
When I get angry, because I'm quick to react, I will grab my necklace, try to pause, think about it first. But if I still have that anger build up inside of me, then I do something, physical, go for a walk. My sponsor told me last week to go out in the backyard and scream at the top of my lungs.
There you go. That works.
Release the energy somehow.
Release. That's what you got to do. Exactly. So, so Bambi goes out and screams and just releases the energy. That works though, guys. It may sound stupid, but it works. A good cry works. Me, I choose to stuff the shit down as deep as I can. I'm just kidding. Anyways, Chris, go ahead. We're gonna save busy Beth for last because she's busy over there, and then we will get to her in a moment.
Well, it's funny because, like you, I mean, everybody assumes you're joking, that you push it all down. You try and push it down. You push it down. You bury it somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But we are also, I know that you and I, Ed, are both explosive, angry people as well, or have been.
Yeah.
And so I suffer from that really explosive anger, and it doesn't have any boundaries. And we were talking about this just yesterday. And, 17 years of therapy and, God knows how many years in the program, and, different applications. It depends on who I'm pissed at, what I'm pissed at, where I'm pissed, all of those things. So I wish I could grab a necklace. I mean, counting to 10 is the greatest thing in the world. There's a reason that we were told when we were kids, I was going to count to 10. But, sometimes I can't get past 3. So I spent, getting sober or getting clean was a big part of it, simply because it meant I didn't have to apologize all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I love what you just said. I don't have to apologize all the time anymore. And that's so true because, when you get mad, upset, whatever, I know way back when I would, piss people off, but today I don't. I choose not to today.
Dude, my biggest failing is behind the wheel. I mean, I am one of the angriest drivers I know. And it's how I am still alive and have not been shot at and everything else. I mean, really, and I can't even go into how bad it was, but I think that if I get those images in my head as I do it, then I'm like, okay, that makes me pull back. My therapist says told me a great process, which is you're angry at the person to the right or the left of you. As you go ahead, look straight ahead and count 10 because they're going to be gone within 10 seconds. So don't flip them off. Don't, I do this, right? Because it's just like, frustration. And then the person sees you and you've gone, well, you've reacted to whatever it is, or you give a brake check, whatever it is. If you can just wait that 10 or 15 seconds, my wife is fabulous. She just slows down. Someone does something, she just slows the car down. Go. They're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah. So
the other thing too is I just smile or just wave and hey, how you doing? And that pisses them off even more. But it puts me in a good mood. And then they're down there probably shooting up the road because of I waved to them or something. But Beth, what about you? Hold on, Chris. We'll come back to that. Beth, what about you? How do you handle your anger and your sadness, and how does it come out? Or do you stuff it down like the rest of us?
Oh, no. I'm not a stuff it down kind of girl.
I figured that.
I have a hair trigger temper. And so I love what Bambi said about the pause. But for me, it's more of an acknowledgement, right? If I can get to that pause and acknowledge that I'm angry, I can deal with it productively. But it's got to be like in that moment, like right now. And I've gotten a lot better at it over the years. With sadness, it's just acknowledging it and letting it exist. Because if I don't, then I stuff it down and then I become more angry in self-protection. So for me, like, I think this happens with a lot of my sisterhood too, where it's just like, I just need a good cry. Like I need to acknowledge and really feel what I'm feeling. And I think for a long time, I think in AA, we almost get shamed for feeling our feelings, right? Because you're not just letting them go. Well, I vote fuck that. And we give each other permission now. Like, you can be angry. This is your, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do with it? This is your sadness. Why are you sad? What's going to bring you out of sadness? What's going to bring you peace? So, but it's like, but it all starts in acknowledging it. Right. And I think that sober pride of being, I'm X years sober and I'm in AA and I should, right? I should be a certain way. It's all bullshit. It just took me a couple of years to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. I like what you said. What are we going to do with it? Right.
Yeah.
What are you going to, you have a choice. You can either go like, like Chris said, off the wall, or you can let that car go 10 seconds later and just let it go, and either one is your choice. Either one is okay, but no, either one of those choices, there's going to be an outcome. There's going to be a consequence. It's either good or bad. And that's what we have to realize. And, and that's what I do. I look at it and what's the consequence going to be? Is it going to be that I just move along and I just go, or is it going to be somebody screaming at me, pulling a gun? I mean, there are people that get shot for having road rage.
There is.
Let's be serious. I don't want that. I live in South Carolina. Everybody carries a gun down here except for me.
Like for real, dude.
Shot, man. I know. So anyways, all right. So thank you, ladies and Chris, and thank you for those great, honest answers. I love this part of the show because I get to know everybody and our listeners too, when they send us the emails and about the questions of the week. So I appreciate that. So guys, I am almost excited to have this guest on, this gentleman on as a guest. But Carl would make me even more excited if he came on as a guest. Just kidding, Chris. Chris. Oh, don't do that on here. No.
It's scratching my eye.
Okay. So Chris and I got introduced a while ago, way before, I think right before COVID or way before COVID.
No, it was probably 6 years ago now.
6 years ago.
5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 or 6 years ago. And I always tell the story and I'll make it brief. Okay. So we were in St. Louis, right? And Stacy and I were at a conference and we were going to dinner of a mutual friend of Chris and ours. And I had the worst headache in the world, the worst headache, right? And I didn't want to go to dinner. So Stacy said, yeah, you got to go. So we got ready to go down. So when we walked downstairs from the hotel into this lobby, it was actually an old train station. It's the old Union Station. Gorgeous. Yeah, it's beautiful in St. Louis. So everything's kind of making noise. And I'm like, oh, my head hurts. And I hear this fucking English accent, like over top of all this shit. I'm like, that dude can't be with us. There's no way that dude's gonna be with us. I mean, there's no way Tom would ever allow that, right? So as I get closer and closer, it's getting louder and louder. And right in the middle of this bunch of people, there must have been 25 people going, is this guy with an English accent. I'm like, motherfucker, man, I'm not going. I don't want to go, right? So anyways, make a long story short, I go, we jump in the car, I'm ready to close the door. And who jumps in right next to me is this English guy with this accent. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, it's a joke, right, God? This is a fucking joke, right? So we go to the restaurant and I really did have a really bad headache. So I kind of stayed back because we were all kind of waiting for the table. I was staying back and it was time to go into the room. I'm like, all right, let everybody go in. I'm going to see where that dude is. And I ain't fucking sitting next to him, right? Just not going to sit next to him. So I get in the room and I sit like right in the first seat and I'm looking around, and there's only one seat left and the English accent dude ain't in the fucking room yet, right? So he comes, sits down right next to me. He goes, hey, my name's Chris. I'm like, hey, fuck you too. That's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, this is going to be a long fucking night. So as the night, as a couple minutes went on, he says, my name's Chris. I'm from Long Island, blah, blah, blah. I like to run. I'm like, you like to run? I was like, welcome aboard. I'm like, and Chris and I became instant friends that moment because obviously we had something in common. And also I was getting out of self, right? Think about that. I was getting out of self. I was all wrapped up in me. If I didn't keep an open mind, or if we didn't have that one little thing in common, he wouldn't even be here today. I wouldn't even know Chris. Chris, maybe I should have stopped. No, I'm kidding. But Chris is an important part of my recovery, important part of my running life. Chris tells me to slow down when I'm running. He actually told me it's okay to walk, because before I met Chris, I was getting injured all the time. And in my running, I was just running nonstop. He's like, Chancho, you cannot run like you're 28 years old. I'm like, the fuck I can't. And I come back and I get injured, right? He goes, see, told you can't. So I took his advice and slowed down a little bit, and I increased my miles. I've done a a calendar run, which is 480 miles in 1 month. He helped me through that. I've done a couple ultra marathons, you name it. Chris has brought me to that next level, and not even including his recovery. I mean, his recovery is amazing. It's a little bit different than everybody's, which is okay, but it's amazing because I love taking bits and pieces of it. So that's how I met Chris. And if you think I can talk, I'm going to turn it over to Chris and you watch him go. So, Chris, welcome to the show. And I love you, brother. You really mean a lot to me. So
I know, but you never return my calls.
No, I don't.
By the way, just as a little sidebar, because everybody knows I jump all over the place, but whenever I call Ed or text Ed, he'll text me, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you right back. The longest was 2 months. You waited 2, and I'm like, I'm not calling him back. And I'm not fucking texting him. That son of a bitch will get back to me at some point.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know where I was, and it's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm busy right now. I know the important part is I know that if you need something or if I need something, I can send you a 911 and I can get the response that I need, which is, okay, what do you need? You're always busy, Ed. You're always working. You're always out there. I'm retired now. So, so it's a big difference. And we have a different relationship now because really we started out in a sense, though it was a personal relationship, it became a business relationship in a way. It was the business, of getting people sober, of helping people get sober. How do we move them up that ladder, But the funny part of that story that you told is that I don't do well, believe it or not. And everybody goes, oh, no, you do great. I don't do well in crowds. I freak out inside. My body just implodes. So the natural thing is to go, ah! Yeah. If I don't, then I'm off in the corner, right? The reason that was the last seat was because I hung back in the bar. Everybody's there, right? And I'm like, I don't really want to be here. But Tom had said, and hey, it's a free dinner. And I was on my own in a room in that hotel, and I was feeling a little down and everything else. People are telling me you can't go particular places in St. Louis, and I wanted to go for a run, and like, you can't run over there because I'm like, why not? Well, because you're the wrong color and someone's going to kill you. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. So proceeded to run in all the wrong places, by the way, which was great because nobody killed me. Everybody waved. But, the running part is really important. And that was a big part of my mental health. And you're talking about mental health. I can't run anymore. And so I hear myself going, it's okay to walk. I don't take my own advice. They're looking to do a partial knee replacement on me. And I'm like, well, can I run after it? And the guy from special surgery is like, no. I'm like, well, what's the point in getting it done then? But so when you're feeling that anxiousness and everything else, I could just go out. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Bambi, you mentioned it. You get up, you go for a walk. You get an anxiety attack. And get up and you move, right? And you can sort of push that through or push it away. I don't have that luxury anymore, but it's cheap. Put on a pair of shorts, put on a pair of sneakers, a t-shirt, and you're gone.
You're done, yeah.
Whereas I have a bike and then I got to put the helmet on and get the light and do the thing. And I'm like, So by the time you're out, you've either killed the person you're angry with.
Yeah.
Or you've cried yourself back into some kind of
Exactly. So, Chris, I know you've been sober a long time, and 30 some years right now you're looking at?
I base it usually on my son. My youngest son is 41 now, and I think I got sober when he was 3. The fact is that, the story is that I just stopped drinking. I mean, everybody goes, well, how'd you quit? And I used to be and I didn't think it was disingenuous. I thought it was genuine that, well, I just quit. But no, I didn't fucking just quit. It's like I didn't just quit smoking. I started smoking at the age of 9. I quit smoking at the age of 32, I think it was, because the doctor said, if you don't quit smoking, your kid, your youngest, who is suffering all these, respiratory things and everything else, is just going to get sicker. I'd never heard of secondhand smoke. So I quit. But how many times did I really try and quit smoking? Same as how many times did I try and quit drinking?
Quit drinking, yeah. And that goes for all of us. I mean, I can tell you probably about 10,000 times in my head, right, ladies? I'm sure, we shared this on the show in the past, that you know, I always wanted to stop, right? But when is it? You know, I think it's the what? Yeah, enough's enough, or what's the other saying that we say in the rooms?
You've reached
whatever.
your bottom, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
And when too much is enough, and all the other, but all those sayings and everything else, I didn't have any of that because nobody I knew. Now remember, I mean, I started snorting coke so I could drink more.
Yeah.
You know.
Amen. Amen, brother.
Yeah, and it was when my buddy came back after doing a huge European tour with ABBA. He came back to the village that I was living in. He goes, "Look, try this." It was my 27th, my 25th birthday. It was my silver jubilee, the same year that the Queen had her silver jubilee. I was like, and I had a little restaurant there, a little cafe, and I was, I felt like I was a local celebrity, and and I had some really good friends, and but Bob goes to me, he goes, "Try this, you will never ever not be able to drink all night," which was what I heard, right? Which is probably try this and it's pretty good and blah, blah, blah. But so, he gave me a little bag of Coke and I was terrified. And I remember doing like, how am I meant to feel? And then I took some more, I was like, oh, I feel good. And then it's like, I feel really fucking good. And then I'm off down to the engineer's arms and I'm pounding them. And it's my birthday and I do probably did about a gram. We did a shut-in, Paul, the publican, goes over and slides the bolt across the door, and there's like 10 of us in there, and we drink all night. Because back when I was drinking, pubs closed at 11 o'clock on a Saturday.
Oh, Jesus.
And there was no takeouts. I never did takeout, right? And until I came to this country, I never, you do the occasionally, you take a couple of bottles of, beer with you or something like that. I didn't have alcohol in the house, ever. I didn't drink at home. Because it was cheap. Yeah. I'd go to the pub, and it sounds like the old man that goes, when I was a boy, but I've become that.
You are the old man that's saying that.
I am the old man. Like I said, I'm just about to turn the corner of 70, and I look back and I could buy, a 5-pack of Woodbines, which were these terrible tiny little cigarettes. We called them coffin nails because they were about that big. And I could get a 5-pack of Woodbines and a pint of beer for less than 25 cents.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, Chris, I want to talk a little bit about, you're saying you're turning the corner at age 70, you're turning. Now, ladies, when we said that earlier before the show, both of you guys were like, I can't believe that, right? I can't believe that. And I can't either, right? It's just that all the things that Chris accomplished in his life, that he and I'm not just saying the crazy things, and we'll talk about in a moment, but all the recovery, even here on Friends in Recovery. Bambi, were you on when Chris came? Oh, you weren't. Okay. All right. Because Bambi came in a little bit later. And Chris used to host a meeting for us at the beginning of Friends in Recovery. He used to be, and that meeting was
did it for a full year, I think, almost.
Yeah. That meeting was standing room only. It was called Bag of Nuts, right? And everybody loved it. You didn't know what Chris was going to talk about on that show. But yeah, I mean, first of all, you don't look the age you are. That's number one. You stay young at heart, and that's what helps. That always helps. And some of the crazy stuff that you did also helps you keep you young. And I know you don't like talking about it. I know it's in the past, but the stuff that you did, it keeps your mind young. Like Chris has a record for 7 ultra marathons in 7 days on 7 continents.
Wow.
I think so. You also
continents. I shit myself every day.
And incontinence too. And then also you rode a boat from Africa to England. Is that
to Barbados? We built a boat on Shelter Island, which is a small, if anybody knows Long Island, it's I call Fantasy Island, but it's a small island off of Greenport and between Southampton and Greenport. And I answered an ad. It was an article by another drunk who I didn't know was a drunk at the time, because I have terrible drunk radar, by the way. It's hard to tell. You room full of people, I'm not looking and going, that person's a drunk. But I answered that ad and went off and offered to help raise money for Orca to row from Africa to Barbados. And who knew at that point that ocean rowing was a thing? That it's been a thing for 60 years, 70 years. A guy called Tiny Little who held a world record, and a few people have lost their lives and stuff like that. But the big ones are the Pacific rows, which are much, much tougher.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the first open row was an open rowboat with 2 guys rowing back to Europe.
Well, that's what you did, right? It was an open road. There was nothing there, right?
Yeah.
So
Orca was a trimaran, so we were the first multi-hub.
Okay. And this is why you're in recovery, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the funny thing is that the deal, when after I did the 4, my wife was away. She had gone to France, which was terrific with my son, with my youngest, and they're over in Europe. And Pat knew I was going to go meet with this guy, Roy. And so I meet with him and, we have a conversation. Hey, how can I help you raise money? Blah, blah, blah. I'm there for 4 hours. And he's this, stocky little, Scotsman. And as I get up to leave, he puts out his hand and he goes, "So, lad, are you up for a row?" And I'm like, yeah, why the fuck not? Right? And I'm like, what did I just do? I leave shelter and he goes, "Great, you're in." I get home later on that night, the phone rings and it's Pat. And she goes, "So when do you leave?" I didn't know I was going to go row.
Oh my God. I know Busy Beth. I was going to say Basic Beth. I know she's so enthralled with this conversation. I think she wants to even row a boat across the Atlantic. So I see her wanting to ask questions about it.
Yeah, no, we have good mugs.
Yes, good mugs. Yes, she'll support you through the mug.
Yeah, I get panic attacks on the water. I can't.
I'm terrified. Yeah, any water over my head, I'm petrified. And whether it goes back to, and people go, "Oh no, you're not." I mean, and I'm not a bad swimmer as long as I'm swimming in something where I can touch the bottom. Mm-hmm. And I don't know whether that's a euphemism for what it is, how we lead our lives as addicts and alcoholics and everything else, and as insecure, sad, pathetic little people. But it's I'll swim all day. You give me a mask and a snorkel because I've got a screwed up neck now because I'm old. But I can swim all day long. I love it. I love being in the water. But the minute I can't touch the bottom, my freaking mind goes. Was it because my stepfather, who was a very kind guy, I knew him for 3 years before my mother died, and we left him. But I have this memory of him on his boat out in the Sound, and he threw me in the water. Now, whether or not this is, he goes, "Yeah, you just learned to swim."
That was me. That's what my dad did. He just threw us in the pool and was like, "Swim,
right?" And I'm, so you're doing this shit, and it's like, you learn to swim. Well, he wasn't wrong because I'm here. Mm-hmm. But I really think that whatever that does to us as human beings, and I know this is again a tangent, but it's like screaming at your kids, right? And as you're screaming at your little kid, and you're like, "What the fuck? And why did you break that? And what did you do?" And they grow up and they're just like, this
angry,
angry and scared and all those things. They hear a loud noise and they jump and you go, "I did."
Yeah. I want to shift gears here a little bit, Chris.
You're going to have to do that a lot.
I know. Because we have to watch the clock because it will be 10 o'clock at night by the time we wrap this show up. So believe me, that's how our phone calls go. It's
that's
like,
right.
Shit, 2 hours went by already. Yeah, I know. I got to have a 3-hour span of time before I call him back. I'm doing nothing. So
wait a minute. Before you do it, I got to say, Ed and I got together about 6 months ago. I went down to one of the facilities.
Yes.
And as I get in the car, I go, "By the way, we're going to have 10 to 12 different conversations. And by the time," you remember this? I said, "By the time we get home, we're going to have swung right the way back to this conversation."
That's right.
We did it. And I went,
we did.
We were in the car for 4 hours together. We covered a million things and went all the way back to.
That's true friendship.
That is.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about friendship. That's what I'm bringing up. And I know he gets a little embarrassed or, whatever. But Chris is one of those guys that I can. I'm going to get a little emotional here.
Ed's going to cry.
He'll help you bury the ball.
You're going to choke me up, Ed. So I'm a big cry fest.
Eat some food. Self-medicate.
That's right. But I can call up anytime and say, "Chris, this is what I need. This is where I'm going. Can you help me with this? I need advice about that." From running to recovery to marriage advice to work advice to whatever it is, He's always there. And that's the kind of friend that he is. We say this all the time. We may not talk for months, but the minute we get back to it, it's like we never left. We get back and we're best friends again. And it doesn't mean that we're not best friends because we don't talk. It just means life happens, you know? And that's one thing about Chris is that I can depend on him no matter what. You know, that is a true friend, number one. And that is the way I would love to live my life as far as recovery goes. And I think that is huge in a person because there's not a lot of people. And I can't even say I might do that for a lot of other people, but I know I would do it for Chris. But, you know, and it's just amazing. And you know, he's accomplished a lot in his life, you know, the rows, the marathons and you name it. And he helped me put together the recovery on the raft, right, Bambi? Bambi's been part of that last year or so. And Bambi's actually going with us this year to do recovery on the raft.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Bring a swear jar.
But you know, Chris is part of the first recovery on the raft, and we call it Roar. Something happened where we couldn't do it because we had to switch some times
COVID
around.
Everything up and
COVID. Yeah. So then we did recovery in the raft last year. He was able to finally do it, right? But here's the typical Chris, right? Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with you guys. We knocked it down to 50 miles instead of 100 miles, and we're down the Delaware River. So he's like, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it my way, right? So he shows up with a paddleboard, an inflatable paddleboard, a fucking lawn chair that he looked like he pulled out of the garbage on his way up there.
It came out of a wrecked car at my wife's shop.
A couple of bungee cords and some ratchet strap downs and a milk crate. And he went down the river 50 miles, didn't complain about anything, had the best time in the world. He was worried that he was holding us up, and he wasn't. You know, we were just taking our time because that is a lesson in itself right there, is that slow down, right? Do what I always say, do what Chris does, slow down, enjoy it. You know, I was always circling back to go get a hold of him, and I was able to take a second look at the beauty around me instead of wanting to get those miles in, get finished and get set up, get to camp. So that was one of the lessons I got from you in that kayak trip too, Chris. And I don't know if you knew that or not, but you know, that is some of the stuff that I learned from you, and it's just amazing. So, but tell us a little about that trip. Why did you want to do that way? You know,
well, it was a proof of concept, right? It was, I was looking, you know, I'd been looking at row boards and a whole bunch of other stuff. And also the fact that I wanted something that I didn't have to worry about that I was going to fall out of, or was going to fill with water or do whatever it is. And I was going to be like, whoa. By the way, I am the only one that flipped over, which is really funny because as I'm going, I'm not paying attention. And I see Doug look around, he looks behind, and he's about to scream, rock. And I go, rock. Everything is gone, man. I mean, I lost just so much shit.
Yeah, the milk crate emptied over. Doug got a lot of that stuff back for you, though.
People picking up drink packets
down the river. We were like scooping shit out of the river. But that's
anybody can get in a kayak and pretty much and paddle, right?
Yeah.
But,
well, we'll see.
Yeah, the river will take you where it's a really good, maybe an analogy for sobriety. The river will take you where it needs to go.
Yeah,
we don't have any real control over that. You know, we have a level of control in terms of, you know, we know that we can get out, but we have to look at where we get out. What's the condition of the water? All of those silly things that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the V around the rocks and where those submerged rocks. And so again, it's an analogy towards life, right? You're always having to look in sobriety, you know, at what you're about to hit, what's below the surface, what's below our surface, whatever it is. And it sounds corny, but other than as these guys would get half a mile ahead of me, I'd count off, right? Because I count. It's part of my, you know, a lot of people do. If I'm shoveling dirt, I count, right? All that stuff. I counted all my paddles when we rowed across the Atlantic. I counted every revolution of my seat. Wow. What I do is I do it for an hour because we rowed 2 hours at a time. So I count for a full hour. How many oar strokes? And it was somewhere in the region now, if I remember rightly, of 1.7 million
God.
Strokes and revolutions of the seat. I was very happy because I designed that goddamn seat. No one had ever made a seat out of rollerblade wheels. Anyway, so sitting on the inflatable paddleboard, it was one. I didn't want to have to hump a goddamn kayak all over the place. Two, I wanted to be able to get whatever I could in the truck, but also, why not? Right? What's the worst thing that happens?
Why not?
Yeah. It doesn't hurt anybody. And yeah, I did feel bad because I kept thinking I was holding these guys up until the end when I realized that I'd have to sprint for 15 minutes at a time to catch up to them every hour. They'd stop when they're like having a drink and hanging out. Doing this lunacy. But it was a lot of fun, And
it was. Bambi, do you have any questions for Chris about the kayaking trip? Because that you're going to be going on. She's like, I don't know if I want to do this or not.
Yeah, I think he's not on my level. I'm going to talk to Doug.
No,
Doug will take care of me.
Look, have you ever kayaked?
Yes.
Fine. So make sure that you wear a pair of shoes that can stand some rocks and not. I wore the wrong sandals, which were too heavy. I'll bring my beach shoes next time because it's not like you're getting crushed. Had I been smarter about it on the board, I probably would have worn a helmet because I was pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
But the water was slow. It was moving. Sometimes it wasn't moving at all. Practically.
Yeah.
But it's we talk about how you're going to sleep. Get a tent that's easy to set up.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a tent, get a bloody hammock. With the full fly sheet and everything else.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. It's
it isn't. No.
REI. I mean, Walmart carries everything that you need.
Yeah, they do.
My wife asked me last night, "You're going?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "What boat are you taking?" I said, "I don't know yet. I'll work it out the week before we go."
Yes, he will. He will. Absolutely.
Chris, I spent 2 days in jail. So if I can spend 2 days in jail, I can spend 2 days on.
I only spent 1 day in jail.
2 days in jail and 20 days on house arrest. So
yes,
I can do that.
We're going to interview Bambi on that one, the next show. But Chris,
I'm impressed.
we're gonna wrap it up here in a minute. And all this stuff that you do, I say crazy stuff. It's life. You don't let grass grow under your feet. You take those chances, you take those challenges. And I'm not saying you take crazy challenges. You take those challenges and those risks that may be somewhat calculated and, put your brain to it. And you've done a lot in your life. And I look up to you for that 100% hands down. Let me ask you, before recovery, was this going on? Was, this craziness going on? I don't mean craziness in a bad way.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I know what you mean. And the thing is this, that I said it to Pat last night, we're brushing our teeth. And I said, I'd done my therapy session with Dr. Herships, my therapist out here in Quogue, and Mike paid me a great compliment. And he said, we were talking about the trailers that I built, the campers that I've done and all the other stuff. And he goes, all the jobs and the things that I've done. He goes, "You're a true Renaissance man." And I'm like, really? Number one, I'm that old that I can be called that. And two, thank you, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And he's always said to me, and it's typical of people with ADHD and being a risk taker. I never considered myself to be a risk taker. Apparently, I always was. Mm-hmm. The school I went to, Summerhill School in England, was very different. The kids ran the school. You didn't have to go to class, so I didn't go. I didn't go to class from the age of 8 years old to the age of 14. I attended maybe 5 hours of lessons. But, I was always building a tree house, or I was always digging a hole and building an underground fort. But when I fast forward, leaving, being kicked out of school at 15, what are you going to do? You're on your own. Your parents are long gone and dead. There's not really much money around. I didn't know where I was going to go and where I was going to live. So, I'm with my brother in Edinburgh, and I go, I'm going to sell my 5-pound stereo, 5-foot stereo, and my 3 albums, my Ray Charles, my who else was it? I sell my albums. I get £10, 10 quid together, and I buy a bus ticket and I go to London, right? And I get to London, and I'm like, I don't know where anybody is, and I'm going to go stay with my friends, the Ameses, Alan and Ethan, Alex, Sean's back in the States, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I arrive at Waterloo on the bus. I get off the bus and I'm looking around, and I go, where am I going to sleep tonight? Well, I'd already been to Germany the year before and slept in the streets with my brother and some weird shit. So I climb over a fence and I'm in the grounds of the Imperial War Museum, which is this gorgeous building. And I'm laying in the bushes. I'm like, it stinks a little bit in here, but that's all right. It's safe. And I'm laying in my sleeping bag and I'm trying to get sleep. And I'm like and I'm petrified. I am terrified. I'm by myself. Never been totally alone like that, right? And if you're alone, I was usually high or drunk. Now, remember, I'm just turning 16, and I see this shadow walking towards me. And I'm like, what the fuck? They're going to come. By the way, my suitcase is this big. It's a little black and white carry-all. And the guy comes over, undoes his fly, and pisses all over.
Jesus God.
He's a homeless guy. I'm laying there. To lay there and go, I'm being peed on by a homeless guy. And he leaves, and I cry. And I get out of the sleeping bag, and I pick up my bag, and I climb back over the fence. And I'm never sleeping in there again.
That's not a life I want.
So you learn those things, right? But, and it moved from there. It's, what are you going to do next? And my friends who I stayed with, when I was talking to Alex, an old girlfriend, whose brothers owned the flat, she said, we only hung out with you at school at Summerhill because we wondered what stupid thing you do next. And I'm like, what? And I was really hurt. I mean, for about a year, deeply hurt that this girl that I was in love with, and they're my favorite people, and they were my surrogate family. And I spoke to her and I said, Alex, you hurt my feelings. She goes, no, I didn't mean stupid. Like, we lived our lives vicariously through you.
Yeah, exactly. So, Chris, you motivate a lot of people, believe it or not. I mean, you know, 100%.
I out myself all the time. Right? That's the key. It's like, I'm a drug, because people go, what did you say? I mean, how many people have I brought to you that have gone, oh, so sorry.
Yeah, no, because we're gonna have to wind it down here. But so those calculated risks became much more calculated when you got into recovery, because I've seen them. The risks that you take, and you are a risk taker, but they're more.
They're a little bit more calculated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but, I mean, even like Chris, this is not the first time Chris has been on this show or our first responders show. Chris was almost a regular guest once in a while at on the shows before COVID. But and any, like I said, Chris really when he puts his head to something, he commits to something, it's done. If you want to know somebody that's going to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do when I'm going to do it, I've never seen Chris back out unless there was some kind of emergency. Once he commits to something, that's what he does. And I'm guessing, and I have to kind of say, it's probably due to your sobriety, Chris, and what you've learned through this program.
What I did learn is that if you're going to do it, say it out loud, right? Yeah. And that was something that Roy Finley, who I rode with, I don't know whether he went into recovery. I hope he is. I hope he's alive, and I hope he recovered. But it's once you say it out loud, you've got to do it, right? Everybody starts. That's a really interesting thing, is that, we made this big fuss about starting out rowing. And I said to Roy, number one, you rowed us through a storm. We're stuck in this fucking storm with 40-foot waves, and we're crashing all over the place. And the sea anchor is out, and I'm puking over the side. And I puked for 5 solid days nearly. I thought I was going to die, which I really didn't think I was going to. But everybody starts. You don't know whether we finish, right? Yeah, so you see someone walk into a meeting, they sit down, they go, hi, I'm Beth. I'm an addict and an alcoholic or whatever it is. And you go, oh, hi, Beth. And then you never see Beth again. Now, I would rather go with the assumption.
That's kind of like how she's on this show.
Right.
We don't know which Beth we're going to see.
That's it.
We're going to see.
But what I'm hoping with Beth is that if I don't see her again, that she's clean, that she's achieved what she set out to do that day. My youngest, when he went into he did 10 meetings, 8 meetings maybe. And he came out and he goes, I'm never going back again. I said, are you all right? He goes, I'm fine.
Yeah.
He goes, Dad, you gave me the tools I need. He goes, I've got half a dozen aunts and uncles that I think fall. Yeah. I have all my friends, but nobody knows whether or not he stayed sober. And 8 years later, he still is. Yeah. And so you look at that. I work on that basis. Announce it. Make a big sound. Here's what I'm going to do. In fact, I told you, Ed, that I was intending on rowing from Miami to Montauk this year. I can't do that because things have gotten in the way.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't put it out there all the way. But I am intending in June or July to do another Round Island Road because we've done one successful, 2 failings.
Yeah.
It's a week paddle. And I said to Pat again this last week, are you scared that I'm going to? She goes, no, I worry about you a little bit. But once I make that announcement, I've got to do it.
You're done. Yeah.
Everybody starts. Nobody gives a shit if you finish.
Yeah. Right? That's right. That's right. Well, and that's like our recovery. We're gonna end up here. It's like when we walk into the rooms, hi, I'm Ed, I'm alcoholic, I'm, and a friend in recovery, that we're stating that out. So we hear it, number one. Number two, we're being held accountable.
Into the universe.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's why people won't say it. How many times have you said, just get up and say, hi, I'm A and I am B.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I don't really identify as that. Well, then go the fuck away.
Yeah.
Because, it's not going to work. I mean, it's not going to work if you work it and all the other bullshit that goes with it. And I don't. Yeah. But I know that if I need a meeting, I can call you up or I can go to a meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hands down. When
I stood up.
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
I stood up in my first meeting and said, hi, I'm Chris and I'm an alcoholic. And I wasn't allowed to say addict because,
oh yeah, forget it. Back then,
years ago, when I first went, we can't mix that and don't swear. And I'm like, oh God, and it was awful in a sense. But when I announced it, I knew half the people in the room. They were my old friends. I'd been away for 8 years, but it was like this. Oh my God, I really said that out loud.
Yeah.
I think it works with anything. Ed, go run. Ed, don't forget. You know what? I'm not going to run. How's your knee, by the way, Ed? Are you running yet? You better not be.
Not yet.
But, so, I'm sorry. It's
no. That's okay. No,
so it's important, but it's different to absolutely everything. I don't care how you do it. Just don't fuck up.
Exactly. So we had 5 hours before the show started. We're gonna have 5 hours after the show started, and that's gonna be on a special show that we're gonna have. No, just kidding. Bambi and Beth, do you have anything? I know you guys were like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I can't relate to him. And Ed needs just to shut up. So anything that you want to talk to Chris about, or just kind of give us last minute comments here before we close.
I just want to have him back to finish episode 2.
Right? Same.
Well, Bambi, I will stay back with you or front with you or whatever when you're on your kayak or whatever it is, and we'll just hang out.
Good.
It's the easiest.
Oh, thank God somebody is going to take over my job.
What's that?
So thank God somebody's going to take over my job. Those other fuckers didn't give a fuck about you, Chris. They John, and they didn't hate you. Everybody was just like off to the races on the kayak. I'm like, I better go back because I'm rolling back. I'm trying to roll up the stream.
Doug did. Doug turned around a couple of times.
He did.
Quite a few times because he was worried, especially on the rougher parts. Yeah. And by the way, that's another analogy for sobriety. He's fine, but wait a minute. I've seen some rocks in the river.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go back and make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And then we're going to have more on recovery on the raft. We'll get Chris back in here. Talk about recovery on a raft, and just ignore him, guys. We're gonna cut him off in a minute because he'll never shut the fuck up, and I have to go. Anyways, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're always welcome back, and we'll get you back as we get closer to August 3rd through the 6th for recovery on the raft. We're also going to take donations for that, raise money for the Friends in Recovery communities. So
are we going to try and stream some of that?
We could. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a bad idea. Yeah. We'll talk about that and much more. And stay sober, everybody.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.